You first heard in last night's Globe segment. The prestigious Milton Academy informed the community this week that 4 former employees had been accused of sexual abuse, including a drama teacher, Ray Buono, who worked at the school for 12 years in the 70s and the 80s, and was accused of sexually abusing at least 12 minors during his time there. The disclosure was the result of a 9-month-long investigation initiated by the school, a move prompted by last year's Globe Spotlight series, which found accusations of sexual misconduct at more than 110 private schools around New England over the past quarter century. We invited a representative from Milton to join us today. They declined, but sent their original statement, which said they were deeply saddened by the conclusions of the investigation and apologized to those affected and for an insufficient response to the incidents by school leadership at the time. One of the most disturbing findings in this investigation is that former headmaster Jerry Pye knew about these claims in 1982, but that Buono continued on at the school until he admitted to sexually abusing a student in 87. Only then was he terminated. The school says it's now better prepared than it was decades ago to identify and respond to signs of sexual abuse and harassment. Attorney Eric McLeish has represented hundreds of victims of sexual abuse by members of the Catholic Church and in schools, including a client who graduated from Milton in 1977 and reported multiple molestations by Buono to the administration in 93. Eric, good to see you.
Good to see you, Jim.
What happened to this guy? I don't want all the graphic details, but what did this guy suffer through?
Well, he suffered through everything that you typically see with victims of abuse: inability to have trusting, intimate relations with others, night traumas, terrors, all kinds of psychological effects. He's in relatively good shape now because he came forward relatively early.
And he saw, was it the headmaster or board members in 1993?
Well, in 1993, he and I met with Milton, with a board member, and told that board member, who was there on behalf of the board, what was going on with Mr. Buono and how my client had been molested. So what was unfortunate about yesterday was that this information was not included in the summary of the larger report that was released by the school.
Forget the summary. I agree with you. That's 2017. How about 1993
right.
saying there's a guy on the loose who we
right.
believe is a sexual predator?
Right, right. And nothing was done to contact all the educational institutions where he worked in Southeast Asia over the
allegedly
next 24
18
years.
in the interview.
18.
Well, you know,
and water parks and all kinds of places.
So, one, they don't say anything when you bring it and your client brings it to their attention.
Right.
The prior headmaster, as I said a minute ago,
right.
allowed this guy to continue
right.
at the school for 5 years, maybe preying
right.
on other people. And then to compound this into current events, when I read a summary of this report today, they say there are other male staffers who sexually abused young girls,
right.
and they refuse to disclose the names,
right.
which means that there are 3 people, assuming they're alive,
right.
who are sexual predators, who are on the loose and maybe taking care of my daughter or
right.
yours.
And we don't know where they went. We don't know where they went. We don't know, according to this pretty summary release, what Milton has done to date to try to notify those places about the allegations against these folks. So the summary, this is a mistake. When you're going to tell the truth, when you're going to do these investigations, you've got to tell everything, absolutely everything, which is why in the St. George's case, the school released the entire report. That was done by Marty Murphy, more than 400 pages. So
and you were here with Ann Scott, who was your client right at the time.
Scott, we negotiated for that, and that's the only way to do it. You can't do it selectively.
But I'm going to put you in an impossible position.
Milton's a good school.
Fine, but so if it's a good school, you explain to me, if they had decided to come here, and I said to them, so there are 3 men
right.
somewhere on this planet
right.
who you believe sexually abuse young girls,
right.
who there's no reason to believe aren't doing it again,
right.
and nobody
right.
has noticed that they're teaching at their school or working at their school. What could their answer possibly be to that?
I don't know. I would say with Buono, at my client's insistence, who reappeared last year, my former client's insistence, they did send letters on Buono to the 18 or 20 institutions where he had worked for the last 24
years.
When
did they do that?
We requested it in August, and they did it this week.
Of this week?
This week, yes.
So that means there were a mere 30 years after he was finally terminated that he was on the loose in Southeast
right.
Asia, and they chose to notify
nobody.
He
was also for 1 year at least. We believe in UNC. Now, the other thing is that was there a letter of recommendation given to this guy, too? That
What's
was not addressed.
To that?
I don't know the answer to that question. I think Milton does, though.
When you encounter things like this, and I know you do a lot of it, does all the Catholic Church stuff come rushing back every single time?
Private schools are different from the church.
How so?
I wouldn't go to that level of culpability, but this was a mistake. And again, this is a really fine institution with good leadership now. They know better. They should have released it all. It never works. It's always, trying to obscure the details of this where people get in trouble.
You say good, I don't mean to beat a dead horse. How can you say good leadership when they are covering up the names of 3 perpetrators who are on the loose. I don't understand
Look,
that.
we've been in touch with them since this came out yesterday. Their lawyers, Milton, and said, look, you've got to release this entire report. You've got to do more to protect children. We don't know. And I'm not sure it's just 4, by the way. You've got to read their summary very careful.
There may be
more. There may be more. But you've got to explain to your alumni community and to the public what you've done to prevent these people from re-abusing. Because they always
tell me
re-abuse.
who they are.
And who are they?
So,
and they said they believe the allegations.
I know there was some reform of statutes of limitations about sex abuse perpetrated upon kids in terms of civil litigation.
Right.
Are any of these, if he wasn't in Southeast Asia,
yeah.
or if this Pi guy, we don't know who he is, that headmaster that chose to ignore this for 5 years, is there anything, if they were back in Massachusetts, that could be done to them?
Here's the interesting thing. We established this a long time ago in the Porter case. If you leave the country, as apparently Buono did,
the statute tolls.
The statute tolls. It's frozen. So if he could be theoretically, assuming there's extradition treaties, he could be brought back and prosecuted here. Maybe your prior guest would be interested in doing that. I mean, it'd be a good case for her to do. Because, yes, he could be held accountable. And that's something we're looking forward to. But, again, there was information that was conveyed to a board member, and we were told the entire board back in 1993. Remember in 92, Exeter sent out a letter on Lane Bateman, so it was precedent back then to notify everybody that could have been affected.
So once you leave and go chase the Attorney General.
Okay, all right, I will. Thank you, Jim.
Eric
Thanks for
McLeish,
having me.
Thank you so much for your time.